But the Macomb County Prosecutor, Lucido, here has a plan, a bold new plan, create Michigan's first ever child support specialty court.
It's better to own up to the responsibility than avoid it and end up going to jail.
I'm proud to have Pete Lucido. He's our Macomb County prosecutor who, you know, I have to say, it has been 5-6 years now that you and I have really had a lot of chances to get to know each other and work with each other and build a relationship and a friendship. And I just don't know too many people, particularly people in politics, who work as hard as you work, who feel as passionate as you feel. And sometimes I think people, you know, because you're still a trial lawyer.
At heart.
At heart. And you still have that sort of sometimes blustery and fiery demeanor. But I saw something, and, you know, reason why I wanted to have you here is not only you're one of the biggest, the top law enforcement officer in Macomb County, but one of the biggest counties in the state of Michigan, someone who I would love to see on larger platforms, even though I know you're happy where you're at serving the people, but that's just my heart. I saw you do a podcast, and I know how you feel about the people. I know how you love people, but I saw you do this podcast about child support cases.
Yep.
And, you know, a lot of times you see in a lot of different districts, you know, it's all about locking people up for not paying child support. And, you know, there's an obligation to do that. There's a lot of parents out here who are not getting participation from the other side. But you're not only just charging people, but you're then giving people the opportunity to get a job, to go to work, and to be part of these children's lives. And I had not seen, you know, I know you as a person. I know you from talking to you personally on the phone, in person, working for you. And I don't think too many people saw that until I saw that and I started sharing it. And, you know, people saw a person who really wants everybody to do better.
I'm going to tell you, I'm glad that you got a chance to get to know me because, yes, there's fire always running through my veins, but there's also love in my heart.
Yeah.
I do believe people have the obligation, and I looked at my job description when I got to the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office after leaving the legislature, and I figured I've got to go ahead and charge individuals with crimes that we can make the case. And being a public defender at one time here in Wayne County, being a probation and parole officer in Oakland County, and practicing criminal law for over 30 years before I went to the legislature, making laws that actually work for the people and not hurt them. When I left to come to the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office, I first had to look at what was that? What's my job description? Right. I'm coming out of private practice after all these years. And I realized that not only do we charge individuals with misdemeanors, felonies, but we go to the Court of Appeals after they have exhausted their remedies in circuit court. We go to the Supreme Court, we do juvenile court, and then we also have this thing called establishing paternity. Fathers that are out there that when the mothers go on some type of aid from the state, from the DHHS fund, Department of Health and Human Services, they would like to get some of that money back, and therefore the prosecutors are charged with establishing paternity under the statute and then establishing a support order. Well, what about enforcement? Anything over $5,000, anything over $5,000 that is unpaid, it could be 5, 7, 10, 12,000. We go ahead and we ask them to voluntarily pay, do something. And they say, always, I don't have a job. I can't get a job. And there's a lot of reasons. It could be a conviction on their record and nobody wants to give them a chance, and I get it. But anybody out there that knows me, I don't think it's reasonable to put them in jail yet. You can show me that you care enough if I get you a job by going to that job. It may not be the ideal job that you want out of the gate, but we also have now Michigan Works that actually is paid to find people jobs. Why didn't the system mirror these two together, those that need a job and those that have to pay child support? And as a result, we're resourcing it right there in my office. Michigan Work says we have jobs available. If they want welding jobs or what's called skilled trades, we'll put them in a skilled trade program. But in the meantime, I want you to work during the day like you and I did, Todd. Went to school at night like you and I did, Todd. And maybe they don't like that, but life is tough as it is. But you got an obligation because the children need the support when they're children. When they're adults, they can take care of themselves. But I do believe this. If I sit down and talk to somebody and said, look, we don't want to put you in jail. We don't want a felony on your record. Let's just do this. Let's sign an agreement that says you're going to go ahead. We're going to get you the job. You're going to show up. And when you don't show up, you're going to call your employer because your car must have broke down. Something must have happened, so that you give respect to the employer that gave you this opportunity. And we even take soft felons. And as you well know, that means those crimes where they can still get a job. Lastly, you know about the clean slate legislation that went through. These records are getting cleaned up when they had some issues years ago. Don't ever penalize somebody for the rest of their life. After they've given accountability, give them redemption.
Oh no, I mean it really is I look at the child support aspect of it. I don't do a lot in my practice, but I do some. I look at the spirit of what it is that you're trying to accomplish is trying to really bring back a family together.
Okay.
You don't just want support. You want that father or that mother, and their mother's on child support too, to be a part of rearing that child. Because it's not just money.
That's the key.
Yeah.
I noticed that if parents can't even get along, and I love it that the fact that the judges don't even want to sometimes intercede because they're saying they can't even talk to each other. How am I supposed to fix broke? We have a chance in a room where the mother and father can vent out whatever those issues are. And at the end, we say, we got to establish that support amount, but can we try to see if we can get some visitation without going to court? Because you two both know what's in the best interest of the child.
Right.
If the child is going to grow up with both the love and affection and the attention of mother and father, they got a better shot at life. And, we both had loving parents.
Yes.
I knew when I went to, when your mom died and everything, but, my mom and dad, they were married for 72 years.
Wow. And
I was blessed with 8 children in the Lucido family to have both of them take care of me, give me inspiration, and give me direction.
Yeah.
Reality, there's a lot of homes that I already know of the individuals that, you and I have represented over the years. Mom may be in jail. Dad may have a drug issue. There's a host of things. Broken home. They never had a father in their life or whatever it is. I try to resurrect some good in people and make them realize, try your best to give that child a life, a childhood, and give them some direction so you can be proud of what they've done.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. And, it's 42 years for my parents. My dad passed at an 02.
And how many kids?
6.
Yeah.
6.
See, those were big families back then.
And you can't afford them these days. I see every now and then I see families of 5 and 6, and I represent a guy in Iowa, and the co-counsel, he has 10. He and his wife have 10 kids, and they're under 45. They've been busy. But
that's an understatement.
That's an understatement. And they drive a econovan,
right?
So to get them to the games and everything like that. But I tell this story is maybe in 2014, 2015, and I'm sitting across the table, and you've done these cases. The guy's got a federal case, so he doesn't have a bond, and I'm going to see him, and it's the day before the 4th of July. I remember it. I just can't remember the year, but it's the day before the 4th of July, and I go see him, and we're talking. And I've known him since, because I grew up in the neighborhood. And, my dad used to, the guys would come around and, my dad would, talk about him and say, look, you can keep on playing and you can keep on throwing bricks at the penitentiary. Someone's going to open the door for you. And, they would be joking, and he'd be joking with the guys, and he'd tell them, and the guy's sitting across the table, and he says, I could have been in that suit that you're in. And, he wasn't saying it angrily. but he was saying it in sort of a loving memory of my dad, that he used to remember that my dad used to tell him. He says, there's only a couple ways out of this situation for you. He says, and sometimes the best way is to be in prison because you don't want to die. Because and he said, if I had a father like you, he says, maybe I'd be your law partner today.
Which brings it to the point. If a father figure is in the picture,
yeah,
there's a certain psychological, emotional connection a father may bring to the child to make an understanding of life is going to get better.
Oh yeah,
because the father lived it as he was growing up.
absolutely.
It's same with your dad, my dad. Not everything was perfect, and with the amount of kids that both of our parents had, there's a challenge there.
Oh, it was a challenge with both of them. Just imagine doing it by yourself. And so, and this not to say that the moms and single parents and dads who are doing it by themselves are not making it, but they can make it so much further. And these kids could be benefiting so much more with the other parent involved. And oftentimes we do say the father, and it's a lot of times I think the percentages would show it's the father who's involved in the crosshairs of the court with the child support. But there are a lot of fathers who are single parents.
So there's three issues that always come up in these cases. One is no one knows the formula of child support. It's set by the state guidelines.
Right.
It's based on income and it's based on overnight. And what I tell people is, I wish someday the court system would have a link to express to everybody, if you want to know how the child support is calculated, push on here. They don't.
They don't.
So we're working on it right now.
Yeah.
That every county, there's 83 counties in the state. Let's just tell them what the hell it is that what the state does. The second link I'd like to see is parenting time. Because there's always fights and issues over, well, you had the child last 4th, I need the child. Look, guys, it's an agreement between you. If one can't make it because of sickness, because of death in the family, because of any other reasons, try to get along.
Yeah,
like you were.
absolutely.
Yeah. And then the last thing I think is even equally important, everybody that pays wants to know how that money's being spent.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is the person who's getting paid, the payee, not the payor who's paying, has obligations like gas, electric, water. Right. They have rent. They have clothing allowances for the child. That's not covering near what this child is.
Absolutely.
And everybody gets on tilt about not understanding that, or she's using it to go get her nails done, or paying for a bling bling cell phone, or whatever it is. You know what I say? Do you think you can support the kid for what you're paying?
Right.
And they say no.
They say the answer is going to be no, unless he's just going to lie to you. And it's just, you're absolutely right. And I'm encouraged to hear that you're leading the charge on trying to get that information to the general public.
But what you forgot to tell the people, and I mean this because we're friends.
Yeah.
This is a pilot program that I drafted, designed, architect, and here's the deal. We can tweak it the way the judge wants it. I want to thank Judge Dennings, who took the lead on this in Macomb County and said, I'll be that judge in this specialty court called child support. I'll be the judge because, Lucido, you're doing this without any extra cost to the taxpayers. Not a dime. We have these resources. Friend of the court's already there. The public defender's office is already there to represent them. The judges are already on the bench in the family court. The public, the Michigan Works is already there. Bring them all together. Let's make a system that somebody can get a job. And at the end, the outcomes will be different with these children, because children that grow up in a broken home, one parent, God, the odds are against them.
Yeah.
But if
absolutely.
we can give them some encouragement and some foundation, you and I know there'll be a better product, which means less crime. They're more committed to getting into programs that'll make them better people.
Absolutely. And we have a better society. And I got to say this. You're leading the charge with this. But and I have to say, I was not aware what you also did when you were in the Capitol and leading the charge on criminal justice reform.
That blew everybody away.
It did.
This guy is a Republican. It can't be. It's got to be a Democrat. This is impossible.
Right.
That's not even issues that the Republicans talk about.
Right.
But it has to be talked about. It was the only way to get it resolved. We needed to not charge juveniles automatically at 17 with adult crimes, because I'll never forget that hearing. And I got it on video. I asked the judge, can I get a jury of my peers, meaning those that can sit at 17? He said, no. I said, why not? The law's got to be 18 or older. I said, can they enter into a legally binding contract at 17? No, they got to be 18. Can they enlist in the Army at 17? Sorry, no. They can't even go ahead and do any of these, but you're saying they're going to get a jury of their peers. That means 17-year-olds should be able to sit.
Right.
And he said, you're right.
Yeah. Oh no, it's just, you brought up the issue of this Democrat Republican thing.
Yep.
And I've been a Democrat, and people laugh. They make fun of me. Some Democrats are like, "You messing with that guy, Pete Lucido?" I said, "You don't know the man, Pete Lucido. Number one." I said, "You listen, talk to him. He makes a lot of sense. He makes a lot, and at the end of the day, he's got the heart of the people, and that's what I've seen you have up there in your office in your county." And how you're not running for office. Judge Braxton. Remember Judge Braxton?
I do remember
Judge Braxton says when you're a public servant, you're running every day. Right. You're out here. You're servicing people every day, and I see you do that.
But you see that because of accountability. You took a job. You took an office. You took an oath. If you really believe that you're doing the best you can and you gave it your all, regardless. When I stuck my hand up and my cousin Sebastian swore me in, and he's a judge over there, like your brother, his in the 36D. Yeah. My cousin said to me, you're taking on a very awesome responsibility, but a serious one. I said, who better than the one that's been in criminal justice for 40 years? 40 years. I've been a parole, probation, public defender, private. It did all this, but I do know what people want and deserve, and that's this. Number one, justice. You can't make it look like justice. It has to be the real thing, right. Which means I tell the warrant division in Macomb County, don't sign a warrant. You ruin people's lives if you did it without having the evidence. So you read everything over. You're going to be accountable to sign a warrant only after you believe that there is at least more than a chance of conviction. In addition, if you don't have the evidence, tell the police officer you don't have the evidence. When you bring it, these things that I want, I'll sign you a warrant. The last thing is, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? It's easy to put people in jail. I think it's real easy. But we've known that doesn't work. We spend a lot of money, and the results clearly indicate they didn't change behavior whatsoever when they get out. What really changes behavior is holding them accountable. Going to jail, what's the accountability? Playing cards, chess, checker, going in, watching TV, getting three meals a day, a cot and a comfy blanket. By the end of the day, why don't we just go ahead, make them accountable? There's programs down here in Detroit that have been embraced by people with mental illness and or drug alcohol problem.
Right.
Bottom line, get them up in the morning, have them shower, shave, teach them all those things that they need to know about hygiene, make sure they're doing their teeth, because things like this, their body gets broken too. Their mind is already a problem. Get them acclimated, get them to work, and then at night have them come back, go to counseling, and show them that in 9 to a year, maybe, if that's what it is, they can work and be on their own.
Oh, no. I mean, and sometimes people need an extra little push rather than the punishment. I mean, there is an element of punishment all the time with criminal justice, and we know that. And, it warms my heart to see that coming from, a Republican.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's unbelievable. It is. But we serve, watch, a treasure that runs partisan. Partisans mean Democrat or Republican.
Right.
A public works. I mean, I got to flush my toilet like everybody else, Democrat and Republican. We want the stuff to go where it's supposed to go. No pun intended. And then you've got a sheriff. You've got a clerk that's accountable for the votes and the deeds and everything going on in the courts.
And a county executive.
We'll get to that in a minute. You've represented me against them on it. But a lawmaker, a person that comes to the prosecutor's office, None of these should have been partisan from the beginning. Everybody would agree with me out there.
I think so.
They should
I
have been
agree.
nonpartisan like judges because you're serving the public. You're serving your county constituents, and they're both Democrat, Republicans, Independent. Whatever it is, it's got to be straight above the boards.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting. I didn't recognize that if you see a city and a city is having, you know, when if you have a mayoral race,
They're nonpartisan.
they're nonpartisan. But if they're a township or if they're under a certain population,
They run partisan.
They're partisan.
Now, you and I talked about this because when I got to the Capitol, believe me, I was the furthest thing from being a politician. Okay, after this many
You're
years,
still not a politician.
I'm still not.
Yeah,
You know what?
yeah.
Everybody says, "Hey, Pete." I said, "No, don't call me Mr. Prosecutor. Call me Pete Lucido because that's the name I was born with. That's the name I die with." But I look at these city, townships, and villages, and I look at villages. There's about 283 villages. They run partisan. And I look at the cities, they run independent. They don't put Democrat, Republican.
Right.
Township, and there's about 300 and let's say 70 something cities in the county. I'm sorry, in the state. And then in the townships, there's like 1,300. It's actually 1,240 something. And this is 83 counties in the state. And I learned an awful lot about how did that happen? Why did that happen? And what's the fight about, Todd? Every time we see it, it's about the parties. They're fighting each other where they should be sitting down,
Right.
getting in the middle of the aisle, put the desk in the middle of the aisle and say, don't you want the best for your people you serve?
I mean, absolutely. But we get lost in that.
I know.
We have gotten lost in that. And, you know, what I do enjoy is the fact that, you know, I say it proudly. I'm a Democrat. But if I lived in Macomb County, I'm voting for Pete Lucido all day, all day. I mean, you know, again, I'm biased because I've got a chance to know you. But even before that, you know, remember, it was a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, and I said, I want to get to know this guy. He's running for office, and then I do my research. As lawyers, we have to do our research. As individuals, we should do our research.
I call it an autopsy.
No, well, no, because you're still moving along. You know, autopsy, we don't want to do that. You know, but yeah, my autopsy and research and the forensic background that we do, and I'm looking at this guy who is a trailblazer in what are typically thought of as democratic ideas. But you know, it is democracy that you're looking for, and it is just about moving people and advancing people, kind of like the programs that you're trying to advance in your office now, is making people and giving people a better opportunity at life.
I got to talk about those because, you know, the public doesn't know. A conviction integrity unit validates the convictions in which these prosecutors that are in those courtrooms get the conviction. So if somebody says that, you know, it wasn't me and they go to jail, and I'm going to tell you now, anywhere from 8 to 10% are behind bars that are innocent. Actually innocent.
Yeah.
And we know this based on some of the information over the years, the people that were convicted. And DNA now is out there, and there's all kinds of, you know, now we're trying cases with video and audio and body cams and all that stuff we never had when we first started in the profession. We had one page. If we had one paragraph as a witness statement and a Polaroid camera, that's exactly what we had. But I'm being honest when I say, if you don't have a conviction integrity unit, how do you look at a conviction if somebody says, I didn't do it, and let me show you, here's more evidence that we found?
I think about when you said that, and I think about a story right when the conviction integrity units were being formed, and you formed one yourself when you got into office, and you talked about this guy with the armed robbery.
That's it.
Yeah.
9.5 years.
You know,
this man sat behind bars, and I'll sit here till the day I die defending him because there was 5 armed robberies in Macomb County within about 16 months, within a 3 or 4 mile radius. And when Gail Pamakoff, who is the chief of the unit, came to me and said, this man needs to be exonerated, and she went through everything, I said, Gail, I will never disturb a jury verdict unless it is absolutely unequivocally to me as a trial lawyer's professional where you see it. I had the investigator go downstairs and run how many armed robberies of 7-Elevens were done during this period of time. This one was hit twice. There was another one in Warren hit twice, one in Roseville. And I said, is the person been picked up on the other ones? Yes. I went back and I said, no one ever questioned this individual about this one. And this man, they found a beer can outside in the trash with his DNA on it. That's how they convicted this guy. When you see the arms in the video,
Right.
the
I mean,
arm was as long, physical.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
Right.
So I looked at this guy and he goes, I thought I was never going to get out, Pete. This is the guy that when he did get out, he came to my office and he said to me, but for your conviction integrity unit and but for you having justice in your heart, I said, if you didn't do it, you should never be put behind bars. Remember that old saying? I still like to know who it is. It's better to let 10 guilty individuals go than to allow one person to sit behind bars that's innocent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you carried that with that spirit. And
I will never forget that because who I am.
Was that your first in your conviction integrity?
Was it? And it was within, because they started it at the Cardozo's Innocence Project. They brought it to me and said, can you help us? And I said, well, Gail is the one who does this because she did another exoneration of a guy that allegedly raped somebody. The jury found him guilty. Back then he was strung out on all kinds of drugs. And then they found a cigarette butt that was out in front of the window of the house that was the house where the young lady got raped.
Right.
They tested that when DNA came about. So they kept it in a package until DNA was available. They found that there was somebody in prison that actually said, when it was done, I'm doing my time anyways. It was me. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
In the meantime, this guy's sitting behind bars.
Absolutely.
Wrecked his life, his family's life. He didn't do it. Now, is that bad lawyering? I don't know. Is it the fact that the evidence wasn't available? No, the evidence was there. We just didn't have the technology to test it.
Right.
So I believe in this. If the system doesn't grant fundamental fairness, then we're doing a bad job of making it look like we give justice, because we don't.
Yeah. The conviction integrity, I've been involved with University of Michigan, some in Wayne County, and to see that happen, a lot of those individuals you would think would be angry, would be upset, but they're just grateful to have renewed life.
We started another unit. I got grant funding. We were one of 4.
You're good at getting grants.
I love getting grants because that's money that doesn't come out of the taxpayer's pocket in the county. So I got a grant from the Department of Justice for a hate crime unit. And I looked at every prosecutor's office in all 83 counties. They call it something, but it ain't hate crime. Hate crime means that the underlying offense had something to do with the color of one's skin. It had to do with their nationality, their national origin. It had to do with maybe that they were, or
gay.
Yeah. We just get right on into it. And I said, if the underlying theory was of those, it's a hate crime. So they destroy a flag for gay pride, or they burn somebody's, object of something in their house. Why was that done? Or spray paint things. Look at Macomb County is the most diverse county in the state of Michigan of 83 counties. We have it down when we got the grant. We have Bangladeshi, we have Ukrainian, Yugoslavian, Albanian, Italians, Germans, everything under the sun. At the end of the day, I just learned a new culture. They're Christians. They understand me now, and they're hard workers.
Yeah.
And I love Chaldean now.
Yeah.
But it took some time.
Well, here's the other thing. One of the things is you keep your mind open about a lot of things. You're in the community a lot, and you're out here, and I've looked at you as kind of a teaching prosecutor. And as a lawyer, I think that you learn this, and we talk about this. When something doesn't work, you're willing to scrap it and let's start over.
100%.
We got it wrong. Let's get it right. And that kind of humility is not often seen, and that's why I call you not a politician.
No,
because a politician is going to tell you why it was right, and maybe we need to tweak it here, and won't admit.
Politician's looking out for his own self-worth.
Right.
I look at what the people are worth, and I also give them the benefit of the doubt. But when I took over a corrupt office, let's just not make no bones about it.
Right.
I walked into an office. The prosecutor was indicted. The assistant prosecutor or the chief of prosecutor was indicted. You had these other, operations indicted. I was in there bare, all by myself, and 7 union contracts. Guess what? Survivor, because I learned business like you. You're running your company here, and you're saying to yourself, we won't be defeated. We will be successful, and we're going to use our business mind that we have to implore those assets where they need to go to do the job.
And you know something, I love the people that you have. I've known many of your prosecutors many years, and a lot of them from Wayne County.
Wait a minute, Kim, I didn't mean it, but thank God you're coming up with the pay and you're giving them all those things, and thank you for being my sister county.
And again, I love how you've embraced going back and forth with you have an open hand, an open door policy with other prosecutors. I see so many people who I've sort of grown up in the law with. You like Stephanie's over there running that unit, and then I see all of this talent that you have embracing, and it's also the culture's change. I see people who are happier that and it's like walking into the courtroom is, you look at we have a difficult job, both defense side and the prosecution
But
side.
there's a respect.
Absolutely.
And I teach them all, nobody's just guilty because you're a prosecutor. You have to prove their guilt, but you also have to embrace the fact that the defense has a job to do. You learned under the Constitution that they have rights.
But years ago, it wasn't like that. It was just almost like we're enemies and we're you're opposite and you don't even want to see the other side. And I think that they also lost a lot of cases because they had that mentality of it was so polarizing at the time.
I'm glad you noticed it because I think you have a keen sense. Being who you are, number one, you're in touch. Perkins for the people, which means I'm never going to forget that because you were boots on the ground during the campaign. You were also up in the space of the people, and they saw that. Look, Todd's here. Okay, he's not an absentee.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
And I'll tell you right now, it's good that we have business leaders like yourself getting involved, getting on the ground, and knowing what the people want, what they perceive, and then going to give them what they need.
See, but that's a UMD boy teaching a DLSL boy how to be men for others.
Oh, hey, wait. I was down on Connor, okay, off of Gratiot, right across the street from Detroit City Airport. The school's no longer there, but the bricks and mortar came down. Yeah. But that was where we were institutioned about our faith.
Absolutely.
Watch this. Our tenacity that was just eking to get out and being somebody who would make a difference in this world. Remember, I teach my kids this. The first third of your life, go out and be who you want to be. Educate yourself or go ahead and, learn the trade as best you can. The next third, make all the money you ever want to make in your life. Raise your children if you have them, or go ahead and be involved. The last third, give back to the community. Give what you can to make the world a better place because there's no U-Haul coming to pick up whatever you made and take it to the next stop.
Steve Fishman used to tell me this. He said, you need to slow down. He was telling me, and he told Todd Flood this. He says, you guys need to slow down. He says, because you know something? You've never seen a Brinks truck following that hearse to the cemetery. You never have. So enjoy it. Be charitable in heart and love the people. And you know something, I want to break a little bit away from this because we've been going on about what you've been doing. Yeah. I want to know what you're going to be doing in the future.
I knew that was coming.
You knew it was coming. I wasn't going to let you get out of here without
I would have made book on that in a heartbeat. The reality is, I have a lot of energy left in me. I have a lot of knowledge and things that people should have when you take a higher office. You should have the business background. You should have the family background. You should be involved with your church's ministry. You should be involved with doing things that will benefit the public and having those open doors with what you have done. I believe that there's a bigger need in Macomb County, and that bigger need is to take care of the people, especially the seniors. And I believe the seniors need a lot of attention because we're an older population now in Macomb, and I truly, truly believe they need to get some resources and benefits that will take care of them. I remember my mom dying in 94, my dad in 96, and God bless them because they didn't need those resources. But our world is a little different, and not everybody was blessed with more than others.
Right.
So I want to make sure that those seniors are taken care of. That's why I do the senior scans.
Oh yeah,
I'm on the
That-
community 200 of these things since I took office.
absolutely.
And there ain't no stopping me now.
You know, every time I pull up at a client's house or a client who's in a
They got the book.
facility, the book was right there. I mean, the literature's right at the front desk for people, and not to mention that you have like interns who are going to see them outside of and this is not happening during an election.
No, the
This
interns
is all
don't
that's
make any
happening.
money.
Yeah.
Okay, I would love to give them at least money to put in their gas tank but I was an intern too in Oakland County, which opened the doors to give me my job. So I'll take the hit up front, but I got the reward at the end.
Well, not only that, it's the reward is for those interns. It's the experience.
And if they find that this may not be their pathway, they can cut it off and find something else. But if it is, I will encourage, I will determine to help them. And I tell them all, you need a letter, you need a reference. As long as you come to work on time, do your best. That's all I ask of you.
I took one of your interns, and he's not going back. He's a De La Salle product, and I took him, and he's working now, but he might very well become the youngest entrant into U of D law school. He's 19 right now, so we're trying to get him admitted.
I know you went to U of D undergrad. I know you went to U of D law school.
Yeah.
God bless you because it is a Jesuit.
Yes.
I had the Christian Brothers. Yeah. And some of those guys at Brother Rice, okay,
Yeah.
let's face it, they too had the Catholic or Christian upbringing. All good men, and in my opinion, we're all leaders. At the end, we do all we can.
Yeah. So I that what you said just now, it sounded different than a prosecutor. It almost sounded like a county executive.
Is that what it sounds like?
It sounds like that. It feels like that, and I make no bones about it. I've been a proponent. And I've been someone, when I come to your birthday party, they put a mic in my face and say, when is he going to run? I mean, he's already, he's doing this. One of the things I would ask you to do.
Sure.
I think you've done a great job and still doing a great job in the prosecutor's office, is that you have to, and I see you doing that, molding the next generation. And I see you doing that. And it takes, like I said, it takes humility to do it. A lot of people don't want to do it because they don't want anybody to come and be greater than them. But I see that in that office, and I see you, maybe it's a De La Salle spirit that's doing it, but
no.
I think it's, U of D bleeding into you.
Okay, I'll take some of the U of D because my nephews went to U of D.
That's right.
My nephew went there to U of D, and he got the best education too off of 7 Mile Road.
Yeah.
Let's realize this. Generational, you prepare that next generation to be better than you. Somehow, some way, put the individuals in where their careers will shine. Give them every opportunity to do the kind of work that you can see and learn by. I learn by younger people. As a result, I love the fact that they are ready to be challenged and then lead. You don't govern and lead unless somebody gives you the chance.
Right.
And if not giving them a chance, they never got the chance, you don't know what their abilities are. I know the individuals that are in the administration as well as in those units that are chiefs are governing, and they are shining, and they're leading.
My hat's off to you. The work's not done.
Never is.
And, I'm sure this is a busy season, even though it's slowing down from the perspective of the courtroom. But, I see you on the news all the time, and you were on the news last night. A lot of times when we see you on the news, it's not good things.
Well, it's the children I'm worried about, the juveniles. I mean, they need some guidance and they need some mentoring from their parents. I mean, cell phones have taken away, and televisions and electronics. Shut them down. Spend some time with your children. Tell them the importance of why it is young to follow the law, because those opportunities are wiped away. You may not get into college if you have certain convictions. You may not get what's called financial aid, and most parents can't flip the switch and pay. You may not get in the military with certain convictions. You may not be able to get a certain job that you've always dreamed of. One mistake in your life, I understand that there's children from foster and this and that. If you look at the jail records and the prison records, those kids never got a chance. But if you don't have the chance, try to make the chance for the child to do what's right and teach them about, don't make this mistake. Those formative years up to 18, if you don't make this mistake, you got a future, at least a shot at it.
Yeah, I love that story. I love it. And, I look for more coming from you. I don't know if, the next time I have you on, I want to know where we're going to be at in 2026. Because I just see bigger things. Like you said, you got a lot of energy, you got a lot of knowledge, you got a lot of experience, and your track record shows well for the people.
I've told this from every road that I went on. After my brother died of a stroke at 59, I have the same gene pool. I went in and said, I've had a nice career. I've had a great, blessed career, a nice run. And I don't want to quit. I want to do more. And I want to give back every ounce of blood I have. But I need to go run for office first and change all those laws after that many years of seeing the hurt that happened to people. And once the opportunity, after being in the House of Representatives and the Senate, once this thing came about, being a prosecutor, I had to really weigh this out because I said, you've been a defense lawyer all your life, and you also did, civil litigation, all that stuff like you. So I said, you know what? I think I could be the best at it because I know the other side of the equation. I can help the victims. And as a result, bringing those policies and those procedures and those units and igniting all this stuff in there, I truly believe that I've gotten it to a place where people like to come to work and do the work that they do, and we're retaining people unless they're going to pay $10,000 more going to do somewhere else, because $10,000 is diapers for the year.
Absolutely.
So yes, is there more? Yes. Is there an opportunity to do more? Yes. I pray about it every day. Where does the Lord want me to be, and when does He want me to be there? So I'm glad that you're intuitive enough to ask the question.
Yeah.
I'm going to be courageous enough, like the lion, to go ahead and make the roar when it's time.
Okay. Is that time 2026?
There's always that time.
My man from the east side, Pete Lucido, and I mean east side of Detroit, Pete Lucido, making it big. You know something? You made us Detroiters proud. You're making them proud in Macomb County. And you know something? When you do come out and you let us know what you're doing.
Can I come back?
You come back anytime you want.
You know what? The suburbs have to be vibrant. The suburbs have to be, but it's the city that makes the suburbs what they are. Remember that, everybody. Without a city that's glowing and growing, you don't have a burb that's moving and shaking.
So that's that trial lawyer. That's that trial lawyer right there. My man Pete Lucido. This is Perkins for the people.
Hold on. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Yes.
I know I'll see you before the holiday, but God bless you and your family.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And my blessings to your family, and hope you're going to have a big dinner. Don't eat too much. But something, let's meet up this weekend and go for a walk. Walk that off.
Let's do it over here in Detroit, because there's no better place to walk.
And come back home.
You got it, bro.
All right. Thank you. Peace.